Beacon Press Audio presents The Queering of Corporate America, How Big Business Went from LGBTQ Adversary to Ally, by Carlos A. Ball. This audiobook is narrated by Jeff Zinn, published by Beacon Press Audio, 2019. Note from series editor. In April of 2019, President Donald Trump's White House ban on transgender troops, enforced against the advice of the Pentagon and many major military personnel, went into effect, reversing gains for the LGBTQ community that had advanced under Barack Obama's administration. Among the voices of protest was that of Aaron Eurytus, the CEO of Out and Equal Workplace Advocates, a nonprofit that deals with LGBTQ workplace equality, who offered the following comment. President Trump likes to portray himself as a successful businessman, but on this issue he is completely at odds with American businesses. Corporate America has figured out that standing up for trans rights is not just the right thing to do, it is also good business. That's why a strong majority of the Fortune 500 companies offer protections based on gender identity and trans-inclusive healthcare options. The Trump administration is trying to take America backwards. The good news is that Main Street won't let him succeed. If you were to ask anyone involved in the gay liberation movement or early LGBTQ rights movement of the early 1970s if the words corporate America would ever be used positively in a statement on LGBTQ rights, they would be shocked and probably appalled. Capitalism, corporate entities, and many aspects of consumerism were understood to be antithetical to liberation. But many things can change over half a century. The LGBTQ movement in the United States has developed in stages over 70 years. While always a continuous movement, each stage had different political aims and tactics from the previous incarnation. Early homophile groups in the 1950s, such as the Mattachine Society and Daughters of Bilitis, called for social justice based on combating injustice, legal reform, and promoting healthy and affirming sexual identities. In 1969, after the Stonewall riots, the gay liberation movement emerged and embraced radical stances including feminism and combating social inequality, racism, imperialism, and capitalism. A few years after this, an LGBTQ rights movement emerged that was less radical but more broad-based and focused on legal reform, acceptance, and social equality. Carlos Ball's The Queering of Corporate America finds its roots in each of these movements, although for the most part it is located in the contemporary LGBTQ rights movement of the last few decades. Ball's breathtaking thesis is that as the LGBTQ rights movement demanded equality in the corporate world, for political support, jobs, visibility, and basic human decency, it was capitalism, commerce, and advertising that slowly morphed into entities that, in many ways, supported queer people and queer issues. It is easy to label this as a case of strange bedfellows making politics. Capitalism is usually not seen as a benefactor of progressive politics, but Ball makes the intriguing and vital argument that this merging of the interests of LGBTQ rights and commercial interests was not only productive for all concerned, but logical and inevitable. Charting the fascinating history of how activists within and outside major corporations lobbied and fought for changes in hiring, benefits, and nondiscrimination, Ball makes the case that, as at certain other times in U.S. history, corporations were understood to be able to work for the common good and even social justice, and not just the bottom line. Ball's history, aside from being highly informative and entertaining, is an important examination of an aspect of LGBTQ history that has been, until now, completely overlooked. The history of the struggle for LGBTQ rights in the United States has been one of surprises and contradictions. The queering of corporate America is one more example of how the power of queerness dovetailed with other social forces to make America a better place for everyone. Michael Bronski, Series Editor. Introduction. In 1968, an LGBTQ rights group in San Francisco tried to place an ad in the Yellow Pages published by the Pacific Bell Telephone Company. The phone company refused to publish the ad, claiming that the firm had an obligation to protect its customers from a filthy phone book, and that the word homosexual was offensive to good taste. A few years later, Pacific Bell, which was then the largest private employer in California, responded to complaints of discrimination by queer activists by issuing a statement explaining that we do not knowingly hire or retain in our employment persons, and this would include homosexuals, whose reputations, performance, or behavior would impose a risk to our customers or employees, or to the reputation of the company. We are not in a position to disregard commonly accepted standards of conduct, morality, or lifestyles. The company later disclosed that it stamped a special code on applications of suspected gay, lesbian, and bisexual job candidates as a way of internally flagging individuals who should be rejected due to their sexual orientation. Almost 50 years later, the Arkansas legislature approved a measure that would have made it easier for businesses and others to discriminate against LGBTQ people as long as they did so for religious reasons. That same day, the CEO of Walmart, the largest private employer in Arkansas, as well as in the country and the world, issued a statement demanding that the Republican governor veto the legislation. The CEO explained that the proposed law encouraged discrimination and was therefore inconsistent with our core basic belief of respect for the individual and does not reflect the values we proudly uphold. 2 days later, the conservative governor and state legislature, under intense pressure from Walmart and other large businesses, modified the law in ways that no longer condoned discrimination against sexual minorities and transgender individuals. Although these corporate responses by Pacific Bell and Walmart to LGBTQ issues represent only 2 of the hundreds of times big businesses have addressed matters related to sexual orientation and gender identity equality over the last several decades, they illustrate the ways in which corporate priorities and values, as they relate to issues important to queer people, have changed radically through the years. This book tells the story of how and why that corporate revolution has occurred. Corporations are interested, above all else, in increasing revenues and protecting their individual bottom lines. As a result, a crucial reason for the queering of corporate America has undoubtedly been the recognition by large companies that, as the country changed, adopting and supporting LGBTQ rights positions could help them maximize profits by reaching new customers while hiring and retaining the most qualified employees. But an account of the queering of corporate America that focuses only on these bottom-line considerations misses other important and compelling aspects of the story. One of those is the crucial role that LGBTQ rights activism through the decades has played in encouraging and pressuring
Sample complete. Ready to continue?